Can everyone see my Wednesday webinar welcome screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Welcome. Today is our third Wednesday of the month when we do Wednesday webinars. And this is a great chance for us in the library to invite one of our vendors. Today we have Rachel Inayosa from Gale Business Insights here to walk us through the Business Insights database and teach us all about the amazing things it has to offer. I personally, as the Forbes liaison, love Business Insights. We use it in a lot of different courses. It has so much to offer as far as articles and market reports and company reports, country reports. It has so much. So I'm excited to learn from Rachel today because every time we have this, I'm just amazed at all the things that I didn't even know about. So thank you, Rachel, for being here with us. Really quickly, I wanted to just show folks so that they're aware of how to get to Business Insights. And I think Rachel's actually going to drop a link to directly to the database if you'd like to follow along. But just in case, if you don't have a link handy in the future and you want to dig around in there and see all that Gale has to offer, you can go to Find Articles and More on the library website. And this will take you to our database's A to Z list. That's the quickest way. If you know the database that you want to get to, like Business Insights, you can go to databases A to Z. You can jump to B for Business Insights. And right there, it will open up the database for you. And of course, Business Insights is a database that is searchable by our Library One search box on the library homepage. So that's nice. It's what we call discoverable in this system here. So if you're looking for an article on a certain topic, you can type it in here and the results will be populated with things from Business Insights. So keep that in mind. And with that, I am going to hand it over to Rachel.
Perfect. Thank you, Karen, so much. And thanks everyone for joining me today. I'm really excited to talk to you about Gale Business Insights. It's one of my favorite resources to demo because I just think it's fun to navigate. It's well organized, and I think it's really easy for you and your students to find the business related material they need for their assignments. I did go ahead and put the UAGC direct link in the chat, so you can feel free to open that up if you'd like to follow along after I've done the little, PowerPoint portion. And I will show you how you can also get direct links that are permanent to individual pages inside of Business Insights as well. So for example, if you wanted to create a direct permanent link to a particular company profile, you can do that and then put that into your LMS assignments, that sort of thing. But I will go ahead and share my screen and we can officially get started here. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and spend the next hour or so talking about Gale Business Insights. For those who I haven't met yet, which is most of you, my name is Rachel Hanahosa, and I'm the trainer for all Gale content at the kind of university libraries that I partner with. So a lot of folks in Arizona, but also really anywhere along the West Coast. So if you have questions about Business Insights or any other Gale resources that you have access to, I'm always here to help out with that. Now for our agenda today, we are going to spend a few slides talking about the types of content you can find inside Business Insights and how that content is organized. Then we'll spend the majority of the time actually inside the database, kind of going through how you can locate different types of content, how a session in Business Insights by a student who's looking for specific content might flow, and I'll show you some interesting features and tools that you'll want to know how to use. At the end, as Karen mentioned, we'll have time for a Q&A, but please do feel free to add any questions in the chat. I'm really more than happy to address questions as they come up. I think that's useful. So if you've got a quick question on where to find Plunkett reports based off the advanced search, it's better to answer that in the moment. So feel free to pop questions there. And then at the end, I'll also give you a couple of kind of websites you can go to for further support. Okay, so let's talk about Business Insights in its core content. So essentially, this database is our premier go-to business database with global content on virtually every business topic you might need content on. The resource is made up of a couple of different types of materials. We have business intelligence, current business news from newspapers, both locally and globally. We have up-to-date financial and statistical data, comprehensive market and industry and company reports. There is tons of full text periodicals, and all of this is sort of designed to help your researchers understand today's global business environment, whether you're looking at, one particular company and their place in the global economic world, or something larger like the movement of a particular industry in a region. Now, some of the core content you'll find in this database includes well over 2 million investment research and brokerage reports. Now, these have a 3-year rolling back file, so you can find obviously the most up-to-date report, but also the previous 3 years, which I think is good for tracking progress and growth. We also have thousands of detailed financial reports, which are often interactive and is very useful for anybody doing any sort of investment projects, or honestly doing an accounting project where they need to be able to understand and manipulate things like a cash flow statement or a ratio statement. We also naturally have tons of SWOT reports, which are updated quarterly. And these, of course, come from global data, and they're on a myriad of different types of companies. And then, of course, we have the index, periodical, journal, and trade titles. That there are well over 16,000 of these particular titles available. And you can obviously find those just through a basic search or through the Discovery service, as Carrie mentioned, the OneSearch. And they're also aligned to specific profiles as well. Now, all of the content that I've talked about is searchable and findable from the Business Insights Basic Search, the Advanced Search, your library's OneSearch, but it also flows into what we call company profiles. So we can find all the pertinent material on a specific company in one easy to navigate page. Currently, there are more than 430,000 detailed company profiles. Oh, I should mention the company histories, the corporate chronologies, and the product and brand info as well. Now, these all come from Gale proprietary titles that we've been publishing for, I want to say 3 decades now, maybe a bit more. And they started out as print titles. Now, of course, they're digital, and all of that data feeds into this database. Now, as I mentioned, they come to form these company profiles, which we're going to take a little bit of a closer look at now. So with the company profiles, it's going to look just like what I have here on the screen. This is the first half of the profile page for Amazon.com Incorporated. Now, these profiles come with all sorts of company financial data, their company histories, their chronologies, again, pulling from Gale proprietary titles like the International Directory of Company Histories. The majority of these profiles contain SWOT analyses in addition to company overviews. The company overviews includes things like company type. Are they private? Are they public? What's their ticker code? What country are they based in? What is their number of employees? Do they have subsidiaries? That sort of thing. And then, of course, we'll have really great related competitor and industry information. So you'll be able to see what industry they're functioning in and even click into their NAICS code. And then you can see next to that their top competitors as well. You can also find related journal, market research, and reference content. So if you were to scroll down this page, for example, there'd be a section with related articles, doing or organized both by relevance and date. So what's the most recent articles being published about Amazon? What are the most recent market share reports, investment reports, that sort of thing. They'll all be in that sort of relevant content section. What I really like about these particular company profiles is the interactive related financial reports. So this includes balance sheets, cash flow and income statements, ratio statements, and even things like investment reports and SEC filings. So you can go in, you can take a look at, the most recent annual balance sheet report from Amazon.com. And then you could also add in a competitor like Tesla and compare these two balance sheets side by side, and then even export that content as like a CSV, for example, to use that for your own individual research.
Rachel, do those go back at all? I see, for the most recent reporting period, but how far back do those records go?
Yeah, I believe they go back at least 3 reporting periods.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, of course. So yeah, you can kind of download, let's say, the last 3 quarters of balance sheets for a company, and then use that for a project or for your own type of analysis, which is quite nice. Now, these company profiles can be found a number of different ways. We do have a section on the home screen that allows you to see the most searched company profiles and then browse all the companies as well. You can also go to the advanced search and then click over to companies for our full list of 548,498 companies. You can also then filter those by type, private, public, their revenue, their NICS industry code, their location, so on and so forth. If you just want, companies with SWOT analyses available, you can add that particular filter under available company data. And then, of course, if you just want to see if we have a company profile for one specific company, you can start typing in that name or their ticker inside the basic search. And then the first thing will pop up is, top suggestions, any available company profiles that relate in some way to that search query. So we can see Walmart, and then we have WMT, which is the ticker for Walmart, and we want to probably click on that company profile link there to get to that particular company. Now, outside of those excellent company profiles, we also have industry profile pages, which look very similar, but of course have different types of material. So these cover all industries, and you can search for these different company profiles by their NICS or their SIC codes. So if you know that, you can pop that in the basic search, the advanced search, and find that industry profile. Now, these profiles include obviously industry overviews, as well as their top companies by revenue and various different industry reports. These include well over 28,000 industry and market research reports that come from our partner at Global Data MarketLine. And then we also have over 500 Plunket reports available, which are super awesome for use. I think if you're into industry research, you can, do a direct link just to the list of Plunket reports to see those as they get updated every quarter. Additionally, these industry reports are fed by our, library of published business content. This includes things like Market Share Reporter, which includes profiles. We have Business Rankings Annual, which includes top lists and rankings of businesses. Lots of association details from these particular well-regarded titles, Encyclopedia of Associations, and of course content coming from like Market Share Reporter and Business Rankings Annual. So it's nice to be able to have all of that data sort of feeding into and filling out these sort of robust industry profiles. Last but not least, in addition to the company and the industry profile pages, we have country profiles, which are really great for students to understand the current and projected economic conditions of various countries. These profiles will have deep links to related content, will have statistical data, and also includes really great reports from the Economist Intelligence Union, or unit, I should say. So there's currently 192 country profiles. Again, the economic risk reports, I think, are a great thing to note, because if you're doing any sort of investment reporting or project, you want to understand the current and future conditions of a particular country. These economist risk reports are excellent. Additionally, we will provide lots of economic metrics that come from the World Bank. These, of course, include things like GDP, GNI, unemployment rates, population numbers, and population growth, imports, exports, that sort of thing. These country profiles also contain well over 7,000 additional business journals and periodicals. So obviously we're pulling from the ones I already mentioned, but these ones are specifically meant to be kind of global in nature. So you can take a look at not just what's happening in the US or the UK, but also in various parts of Asia, South America, that sort of thing. You can, as I mentioned, access the country reports the same way you would the company report. So from the basic search by typing in the name of a country, from the homepage, and from the advanced search section. And there's even a tool that I'll show you when we get inside that allows you to access it from the basic toolbar. Okay. Oh, and I should mention there are also over 2,400 case studies, which are really great material as well. So it's really just nearly every type of business material that you might need, all available in one place. Okay. Now, before I jump into the database and we start actually doing the fun bit of navigating and exploring, I did want to give you an example of how you might, utilize Gale Business Insights in your business courses. So if we have a business student who is being tasked into developing an international business strategy for a assigned company, they're going to need to do a few things, right? They're going to need to locate and understand the history of their company, how they developed over the last X amount of decades, and the growth over time of their company as well. They're obviously going to want to identify the company's internal strengths and weaknesses, and they're going to want to find potential opportunities for growth or threats for the company's current bottom line. And then, of course, once they've had all this information, they've researched it, they're going to want to interpret those findings and then provide recommendations per the assignment. So all of these tasks can be completed within Business Insights. As I mentioned, those company profile pages is going to provide that company history, provide facts of their development in terms of chronology and changes. The SWOT analyses available inside the company profiles will let them know what their current strengths and weaknesses are. The competitor information will let them know what threats they have in particular regions. And of course, the various different types of investment reports and financial documents will allow the student to understand possible opportunities for growth. If they're looking to, I see a hand up, Dr. Woods.
Thank you very much. So when the students are doing research on this, like say they're on this page and they're looking at some of the information that you have on that page, does this give a new URL for every click so that they can, do a citation and APA reference?
Yeah. So every time you click into like a new company profile page, you'll have, a different URL, and you can also use the get link functionality to get a direct link to that specific page you're on. And you can also get a citation for the individual page that you're on as well. So if you wanted to cite a specific, analysis or article or what have you, you can use that tool to get it in multiple different formats and to export it into third-party tools as well.
Thank you. That's great information.
And if I can add really quick, Rachel,
Yeah, go for it.
Dr. Woods, this database in particular works very well with our authentication system. I have noticed that using that get link feature makes it seamless to share, SSO links to resources in courses and things like that.
All right. Thank you very much, Carrie.
Great question.
Yeah, great question. I love the get link because it's basically customized for your instance of Business Insights. So anybody who can authenticate automatically into resources can click on that link and just be brought to the exact page you wanted them to see, which is quite nice. Okay, now I did also want to note that part of this assignment is probably trying to find another region the company can move into for growth. So if they want to do that, those country profile page is great. The country risk assessments are really useful for that. And then, of course, being able to understand the potential competitors in that region, as well as growth in terms of population or the economy, is useful to have as well. Now, I will show you a little bit of that process and how a student might go about that particular flow in just a moment when we jump into the resource. Before I open up the database, I did just want to quickly see if anybody had any questions on the material and content side before we talk about tools, functionality, and navigation. Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and just change my share momentarily here so that you can see the home page of Gale Business Insights. And from this page, you'll be able to find material in a variety of ways. As I mentioned, you can use that basic search bar to start searching for a particular country or company or topic. For example, if we did want to take a look at, maybe we're looking at streaming platforms, and so we want to, do an assignment on Netflix, we can start typing in that ticker, and we'll see right away we have company profiles for Netflix here. We can click into that and immediately go into that country profile, or rather, my apologies, that company profile. We can also click on Browse All Companies here to get a list. These are our most searched companies currently. Below that, you have the ability to also take a quick look at publications. So if you really just want to see if we have, recent content from the Financial Times, for example, or The Economist, you can click into any of these links to get to that publication page, or you can click Browse All Publications and do a quick search here for a specific title. So if we start typing in financial, we'll see we have lots of different options here. And then we can hop into that, do a quick search here, hop into this publication page. And I wanted to point this out because if you've got a researcher or, even a faculty that's really interested in a specific publication, you can use that get link here to, get a permanent link to this, to bookmark it. And that way you can always do a quick search within to find new content here. And you can also see clearly our indexed coverage, our, publication years, that sort of thing. Now, heading back to the homepage, I did also want to note that we have deep links for a couple of other topics as well. So we have very commonly researched topics. So accounting, obviously, sales, social enterprise. If you were to click on any of these links here, it's going to bring you to a search results page for that specific topic, which I think is quite nice. And then below that, you can find industries, major markets as well. Now, as I mentioned, there is a tool in the toolbar that allows you to do a quick browse of different types. And that is this browse icon here. Clicking on this allows you to find all of our sort of categories of specific profile pages or content types. So we have obviously companies, industries, countries, publications, but below that, we also have things like topics, our glossary of business terms, financial reports, investment reports, industry profiles, and Plunkett reports. Clicking into any of these is going to quickly bring you to that specific page. Here, I think the glossary is useful to point out for students because they might not know it's here, but when you're in the glossary, you can see we have tons of different kind of important business terms. And if you want to see if we have a specific term, start typing in something like labor. And then we can see here labor surplus area. If I need a reminder of what that means, here's a quick 2-sentence description for that specific term, which I think is quite nice, especially maybe for those first or second year business students who are still getting up to speed and getting comfortable with the various different, business and industry terms that we are used to. Now, one other thing I wanted to note before we start kind of jumping into material is the advanced search here. So the advanced search allows you to search for a variety of different terms across different fields. So obviously, if you wanted to search for a specific brand name or company ticker or ISBN, so on and so forth, you can do that here. Let me check the chat momentarily. Love the glossary. Yeah, I think the glossary is super, super nice to have. And like I said, you can, go to the glossary and then use this permanent link here And then if you want to, you can, put into your LMS or your syllabus like business, glossary, and then just add in this Git link and they'll automatically be brought to this page, which is quite nice. But going back to the advanced search, I did also want to note these operators. So I know for myself personally, when I was just starting out in college, I did not know how to use Boolean operators and proximity operators and quotation marks in an academic database. So I really like these search tips because they provide really quick, concise descriptions of why you might want to use, wage gap in parentheses versus just wage gap, no parentheses. And I think that these quick tips do help to diminish student frustration in an academic, research environment, because a lot of them are used to, Google searches, which just do not work well in an academic database. So I just like to point those out as well. Now on the advanced search, we also have lots of different limiters that you can use. So if you just want to see case studies or market research reports, or perhaps you're really just interested in, videos and news on a specific topic or company, you can choose those content types here. We also have the ability to look at document type, publication title, and if you're looking for specific companies, you can also put in revenue minimums and maximums as well. Okay, I do want to go ahead and just hop over to the home page so I can show you how to navigate the basic kind of search page before we jump into the profiles and view those in more detail. So if we were to type in, diversity, equity, and inclusion, we can do that here. I know this is something that is sort of a hot topic, if you will, in terms of companies and their relation to DEI with the change in the government. So this might be something that students are kind of actively looking at right now. So if they were to pop this into the basic search bar, you're going to see that we have lots of different types of content for them to review. So obviously we have actual companies that might be related to this topic. We also have case studies, academic journals, market research reports, news, so on and so forth. So they can quickly navigate to different types of material based on what they're looking for without having to see, a mass amount of different types of content on this page here. Depending on which, content type you're in, you'll see different filters. So if you're looking at companies, you can then filter by companies that have SWOT analyses, for example, or, revenue minimums or maximums, or if they're in a specific industry, so on and so forth. If you're in academic journals, you can choose to look at just peer-reviewed journals, if that's one of the requirements for your assignment, for example. Same goes for case studies. We have the ability to find just peer-reviewed. We can put in, tagged subjects, types of documents. We have case studies, but obviously things like, appears a broadcast transcript or statistical table, that sort of thing. So I just want to point out how this is organized because I think it's useful for students who are looking, as per usual, for specific types of content, like even, news articles from more than just academic journals, but things like the Financial Times and the National Review, so on and so forth. Now, once we've applied a specific filter, like for example, we wanted to look at workplace diversity or maybe gender equality, we can click on that subject and we'll see here we have our applied filter, some gender equality. If we find that these results aren't exactly what we're looking for, we can go ahead and remove that subject by simply clicking X next to the filter. Additionally, I wanted to note that if you wanted students to just kind of get content from this specific page, you can still use that get link functionality to have them redirect specifically to this page. You can also change the sorting types. We do have newest, but you can also go by relevance as well if you're not as concerned with the content published in the last month or two and just want to get articles that are the most related to the specific subject. Now, if we were to head back over to academic journals and then look at, let's do that subject again here. Let's look at workplace diversity, perhaps. If we open up an article here, we'll have some really useful tools at the researcher level that I just wanted to point out to you. So we do have this kind of full text version, which is great for screen readers. It's just that kind of plain text of this specific article coming from Business Case Journal. But you can also oftentimes see the original document as well. So if students want to get used to, for example, looking at how a Plunkett report is organized and how that looks versus plain text, you can find that here and then easily download that as well. Going back to the full text screen, you'll see here we have an Explorer panel that provides direct links to related content, related subjects, and you also have some really great customizable and accessibility features below here. So we can translate this into over 40 different languages. I know that you have students from around the world, so it's very nice to be able to get this in different languages. You can also increase, decrease the font size, and change the display settings. So if you've got someone who reads a bit better with a different type of text and imagery, you can change that out quite easily. And we also have this read speaker, which is of course great for folks who do need to have the text read aloud to them. What I also like to point out about this is it's really great for students who are, looking to read this article in English, but perhaps English is not their first language. So what I have folks do when they have, especially like a large population of Spanish students who are learning English, they can go ahead and turn this on, and then it'll actually highlight the
Safety and DEI policy is a must to authentic,
which I think is just useful for folks who, again, are kind of not quite as comfortable with the language, but want to get there and want to be able to read this through easily. Another great tool here is the ability to take highlights and notes. So if I'm doing, a long project which requires me to read a variety of different articles, if I'm here and I find that this specific paragraph is really relevant to my research, or I want to note it for later so I can do more research on this specific, case study that's being noted here, we can go ahead and add a color here and then say note for research in more detail. And then click save. And as we are going through, our research experience, maybe we're looking at this specific article as well. We find another piece of content here that I want to potentially quote in my assignment. And I can quickly, add that note in as well. And once I've done this for a few different documents, I've finished my 45 minutes of research, I can go ahead and go up to highlights and notes in the top right toolbar. And it's going to bring me to this page that's going to have the ability to change formats for your bib at the end, but it's going to have direct links to any articles or documents that I made notes on. Shows me the highlighted text as well as the notes I took on that highlighted text. One thing I like to note about this is we do have the save warning here. Because you don't have a secondary sign-on for Business Insights, whatever you have saved in this highlights and notes section will disappear after you end your session. So before you log out of Business Insights or walk away from your computer, make sure you go ahead and download this. You can download it as a PDF, or you can send it to your Google Drive, your OneDrive, or your email as well. And here's, let's exit out of this. here's what that PDF looks like. I think you will be able to see this where we've got, again, quick links back to the article, the quotations that are the text that we highlighted, the notes we took, and again, that bid, which is quite nice. Okay, now I want to go ahead and take a closer look at the profile pages. So if we were to go into, let's say I am doing an assignment on streaming services and I want to kind of look at those, I can click into Netflix here. I like to search by the ticker because I just think it's easier. But again, if you didn't know the ticker and you typed in Netflix, you can get to the same place quite easily. Now on this company profile page, as we mentioned, we have this quick overview at the top that's going to give basic info, their website, their socials, their revenue, number of employees. If they have any subsidiaries, you can not only see them, but if we have a profile for them, you can actually click into that and go to that specific profile page, which is quite nice. They also have headquarters, COO founded, and their territory that they exist in. Below that is the more detailed company information. So for example, if we wanted to look at an article about the development and the growth of this company since its founding, we can go ahead and take a look at this. This is obviously more narrative in nature. And then if you wanted, you know, more of information on like just their historical revenue, you can take a look at this as well. The SWOT analysis, if we have one, will always be in this corner here. We don't have one in every single company, but the big ones and the most researched ones we do. If you click on read full SWOT analysis, it's going to take you to a page that looks like this. Now with global data, they prefer us not to put their reports into sort of plain HTML text. So you will get it in this PDF format. But I think that's kind of important, as I mentioned, because most students who are studying business need to be able to quickly, you know, navigate and read through a SWOT analysis as it's often presented by these, you know, statistical data companies. So we have company overview, their snapshot, their ratios. Here's their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, financial performances, key information, so on and so forth. And then all the more detailed info that your students will want to access here. Of course, you can download this. You can get the source citation in a couple of different formats here. As I mentioned, you can also export this. We have Noodle Tools, EasyBib, RefWorks, Google, and Microsoft Drive, and RIS as well. And then, of course, we have the same tools here. So send a drive, email, download, print. And of course, again, here we have the option to send to, download, print, or get that permanent link as well. Now, going back to the previous page, I do want to kind of walk you through these interactive financial reports as well, because I think they're so interesting. So if we were to go ahead and jump into the balance sheet here, we'll have quick access to their current balance sheet. We can look at, you know, annual basis or quarterly basis and take a look at, we have most recent, past 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we have quite a few available for this specific company. And if we go past 5, here we've got as many as we can here, quite a few to look through for comparison's sake. So of course, if we wanted to download the data for all 5, we could easily do that by just clicking on this download data, and it'll give us a CSV of this material. Now, if you do teach accounting and you want to do like an accounting assignment for a student to be able to examine a balance sheet or a cash flow statement, you can export that CSV and then maybe take out a couple of lines to have the students identify, you know, like what's missing and what numbers are missing, that sort of thing. I was told that that's an actual accounting assignment at least a few years ago, so that's why I bring it up. What I do also like about this page is the ability to see any SEC filings and any investment reports all in one place. You can, of course, easily download these. Obviously, we've got, you know, content coming from just this month, going back way back to 2022, which is quite nice. And again, that's that 3-year rolling basis. Now, if I were a student researching streaming services, I might want to compare Netflix and their balance sheet or their income statements to a competitor. So we can do this directly from this page that we got to from that one company profile. So we can say we want to look at quarterly, we want to look at most recent perhaps, and then we can start by typing in a potential company for comparison. Now, in terms of streaming services, obviously there's the big ones like Amazon and Disney, but I'm not going to include them in this one yet because obviously those specific companies do far more than just streaming services. So I want to try to stick it to a company that is really more apples to apples with Netflix. So for me, I might start looking at Paramount. Now I can start typing in the name Paramount, or I think it's useful for your students to, again, know that ticker. So I think it's going to be able to quickly show you the specific company that you want versus a company with a similar title. So here we have these two, 2024 income statements for these two different companies, and we can see them side by side, line item by line item, which is really nice. And again, you can easily download that data if you'd like. Going back to the company profile main page, I do want to note that here below this nice financial performance over time toolbar, we have top competitors and industry information. Now, clicking on any of these company names will bring you into that company's profile page. Additionally, clicking into this, NAICS code industry will bring you to this industry page, which is quite nice. Now, below that is where you can find the relevant or related journal, periodical, and reference materials. So we have academic journals, market research reports, market share reports, trade journal articles, news, magazines, case studies, reference materials, and videos as well. So I do like the variety and the way that the content is organized on these pages for students to be able to quickly find different types of content on a specific company. Now we're going to go ahead and hop on over to the industry profile page that this is related to. I do want to note, obviously, we've got, annual estimated revenue, number of estimated employees, companies, and the largest company that we have by revenue in the specific industry. We also have industry overview, again, a nice list of top competitors. So if you want to see maybe where Netflix, lands inside the specific listing of global by revenue operators, you can find that here. And then you can find some really great industry reports here. So we have this particular industry reports, media, streaming, distribution services, and we have all these different Plunkett reports, as well as an emerging industry report. So if we were to click on a Plunkett report, I want to just showcase this for you as well. I think these are really useful. Similar to the SWOT analyses, they provide it to us in this PDF format, and they prefer it to remain in that format. So you'll see it like this. Again, you can also download this and zoom in, zoom out, that sort of thing. So I don't know if anybody is familiar with Plunkett reports, but I like to point them out because they're usually $1,200 to $1,500 a piece, and it's nice to have so many available inside this database. And Karen, I think you raised your hand.
Yeah, quick question about the PDFs in Business Insights. One area that we are really focusing on over the next year is accessibility. And fortunately, I can say from experience, we haven't had a lot of issues with accessibility with any materials in Business Insights. But I'm curious about some of the PDFs and if you could speak a little bit. I appreciate you showed a lot of the awesome features already in the database regarding accessibility, but is there a process? I haven't tested any of these like Plunkett reports to make sure the PDFs are accessible. But is there a process that you all have on your side to remediate anything that we might find that is
yes,
inaccessible?
Yeah, so we do have our VPAT reports available on the support site, which is, of course, just kind of a report on the accessibility of our individual databases. So you can quickly see like where we're at and what we're looking to move forward to. We are obviously working to become compliant with the most recent compliance procedures, which I think is 5.1, but I might be wrong on that number. So we're working on that now. Expect everything to be completely in compliance by April of 2026.
That's our goal as well. Yeah, that's
That's
great to
what
hear
we're-
that
that's what
that's
we're
on
working
your
for.
your radar as well. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's definitely, we have a team that takes it very seriously, which is, important.
Good.
If you ever find anything that you think is lacking in terms of being accessible, you can direct that honestly directly to me, and then I can
Okay.
move that over to an accessibility team, which will remediate or provide, additional support at the individual level. I
Awesome.
think
Thank
in
you, Rachel.
terms, yeah, of course. I think in terms of the PDFs, I think you should be able to utilize like screen readers for them as you would with other PDF type documents. Let's do a
Okay.
quick test here and see if this just sticks to the title. I haven't tested this
Cable
before.
TV programming, cable networks and subscription video industry, US 515,210. Cable TV programming, cable networks and subscription video industry,
Yeah, so
US.
I think it's going through.
Okay.
So that's good, but I can test this a little bit more later. I know we only have 10 minutes, so
I know.
too much time on this, but
Thank you for speaking to it.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's great to know. Thank you.
Of course, of course. Now, well, we'll spend one more minute on this industry page. I just want to showcase the material available to it. We have this like nice organization of related, industries by NICS codes. So you can always jump, to related industries there. And then like the company profile page, we have all of this related, reference and academic periodical content below as well. Now let's go to the advanced search and take a quick look at the country profile pages. Oh, I did want to note, if you only want to quickly access, MarketLine industry reports, use the Get link to go directly to this page. Same thing for those Plunkett reports. But let's go over to countries and territories. So if we want to see if we have a particular country profile page, we can start typing that in here. And we'll see, okay, we've got United Kingdoms, United States, and I'm interested in United Arab Emirates. So if we click on that, we'll go to this country profile page. So we have those basic economic metrics, population, growth, GNI, top companies, so on and so forth. Well, what I really wanted to showcase for you is this Economist Intelligent Unit Overview. I absolutely love these reports for any sort of investment type of project. If you want to see about, potential growth in a particular country or a company within one, and to understand the potential threats and opportunities for expansion into a specific territory for a particular industry or company, these are great. So we do have that plain HTML text on this page. You can also go to the original document as well to read through this report. What I like about these reports is they are hyperlinked inside. So if you go to the page here that's got like the contents, we can take a look at summary, data, and charts. But if I just wanted to take a look at the outlook from 2024 up to 2028, and I wanted to take a look at potentials for economic growth, I can quickly click on that and go into that page. And then see that we've got, forecasted growth of 3.6% for GDP in 2024. Oil accounts for less than 30% of GDP, which is interesting for me. I didn't expect that. And then we can see potentials for growth in different components here: industry, agriculture, imports, exports, so on and so forth. Information on inflation. If we move back up to that contents page, I also really think that the political stability component is interesting, because obviously this is something that we have to take into account. And it's just nice to be able to find that economic, growth projections, as well as political and social economic projections in the same place. Now going back to this page, I did want to note that you can compare this country in terms of GDP to other countries as well by just clicking on this compare tool. And then, of course, just like the other profile pages, we have related periodical and journal content, reference content below. Now, if you are on really any page inside Gale Business Insights and you want to compare different countries, companies, or industries, you can always just click on this compare tool here. And this is going to bring you to a page that allows you to jump between companies, industries, and countries. And you can also change how you view it. So as a chart versus a table. And then, of course, for countries, you can choose what you're comparing. So if we wanted to compare, United Kingdom and also maybe France, we can click on those two and we can choose, okay, let's talk about employment and or population growth, I should say. And you can see these two here. We've got a chart, but we could also do a table if we want just that, raw numbers. And then we can download this as well. Because we have an image here, we can download the JPEG. We can download this as the PDF. And then, of course, we can download the data as a CSV or an XLSX, which is quite nice. You can also send this, again, via Drive, Google, email, and get a permanent link here as well. Hopping over to industries, it works the same. Type in your industry or your NAICS code, and then choose revenue, number of companies, or employees. And then companies is a little bit different. This is going to be revenue or employee numbers. One caveat here is if you want to do the comparison for that more in-depth financial data from the Thomson Reuters reports, you'll have to start out on a company profile page because this just gives you the options of revenue and employees. This is just the basic information we have for every single company. Okay, now we have 4 minutes left. So before I hop back over to my PowerPoint, I did just want to ask if there are any other areas or components of this database that you want me to touch on that I haven't yet before we kind of end the session. And if not, okay, we'll go ahead and jump back over to our PowerPoint here. So, okay, and now we have a few minutes for Q&A, for comments, questions, anything that you might have to say about Business Insights, any questions you might have.
While folks are thinking of any questions they might have, I'm going to drop the links that you shared with me, Rachel, in the chat. Can you speak a little bit about, well, obviously the direct link is there, but can you talk about a little bit about the teaching guide or the tutorial that you provided?
Yeah, I would be happy to. So you'll find in the chat 2 additional links. So one is the Business Insights Faculty Teaching Guide. So and I'll open that up actually and share my screen here. On my team, we do have someone who is experienced in creating assignments, who used to work at the university level. So she's been kind enough to start creating these faculty teaching guides for us that essentially walk faculty through integrating Gale resources into specific assignments. So for Gale Business Insights, we have this assignment that is a, analyze international business risk using the PEST framework. So you can use this, a part of this, all of this, whatever you'd like to utilize Business Insights for this sort of assignment. We have a project description, learning objectives, a bridge-in, and then actual teaching content, which includes an editable PDF, demonstrations of Business Insights, a PTP document, and then you also have assignment sheets that you can use, and an analysis guide for PEST that we also provide. And then we also have assessments, both formative and summative, available as well. So this is just a nice, quick way for folks to, again, integrate this particular resource in a pretty common business school assignment.
That is wonderful. Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, of course. I did also want to note on this page. Anybody can go to, support.gale.com, go to products, go to browse products, start typing in business insights. And from this page, you'll get all of our training materials available. So we have 14 different materials available. This includes longer webinars that talk about, like this one in particular is one that's talking about doing global research. We have tip sheets. We have, again, that faculty teaching guide. And then we have a quick, for higher ed students, I think it's around an 8-minute tutorial that walks students through how to navigate the resource, which is quite nice because I think it's hard to get folks, at any level to be able to sign on to a really long training sometimes. So it's nice to have that. Okay, now moving back over to my PowerPoint because we have exactly 1 minute left. I'm going to go ahead and go to next steps here and just say that again, if you want additional support for this resource, you can go to the page I just showed you, which is support.gale.com, and then it's the product page for Business Insights. If you ever need one-on-one support, if you're looking for something and you can't find it, or you need help navigating, want a quick, refresher, you can always reach out to me directly, and I'm really happy to help you, do whatever you might need to do with this resource. With that being said, we are essentially done for today. So I wanted to say thanks so much again for joining me. I really appreciate having everybody here today. And if you have any more questions that come up, throughout the day or as you explore the resource, please feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you so much, Rachel. This was really comprehensive and wonderful. We learned a lot. Thank you again for coming. I'm going to send out the recording and all the links that was shared along with Rachel's PowerPoint. I'll have that once the recording is ready to share out. I'll be sure to send all that. Thank you so much, Rachel. It was so great having you visit us. Thanks today.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful rest of your days.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.